Welcome to this edition of SMA International News for the month of October. In this edition, we have stories from Côte d'Ivoire. We hear of a spiritual and cultural experience from an Italian group who visited the region. In Lyon, the SMA house at Saint-Séquant Cour-Gambetta reopened its doors to a new era. And in Ireland, over 500 young people attend the SMA summer camp at their house at Dromantine, Northern Ireland. We start this edition with Côte d'Ivoire, where Father Dario Dozio SMA went with a group of 4 Italians to have a spiritual and cultural encounter with people of that region.
It is a great joy for me to be here in Côte d'Ivoire at the provincial house where I spent 6 years as regional superior at that time. Now I'm in Italy. I've been in Italy for 7 years. Nostalgia pushed me back to the Côte d'Ivoire. This occasion was a visit with young people. I am in Italy, in Padua. I work with the Diocesan Mission Centre and we organise trips every year to several countries in America, Asia and Africa. I suggested Côte d'Ivoire because my goal was to return to my place and at the same time to do a missionary animation because it is important to show young people in Italy what Africa is. There are many Africans who arrive, as we know, on the boats. These migrations present a lot of difficulty. People don't understand. So showing young people what Africa is, the positivity there is, the joy there is in the church, everything that is good, everything that is rich. It is very important to understand who these people are who are arriving at the shores, so we can welcome them. The young people were amazed. They were welcomed in an extraordinary way. They didn't expect it. Everywhere we went, Bonduku, Abidjan, in all the missions, even also with the imam, with my fetish friends near the city of Tabagny, the traditional chiefs, the king of all the Abran. They were all amazed with the welcomes. The tradition of welcoming is something wonderful that enhances them. I'm very happy for what they experienced and for what they can do afterwards for our brothers and sisters who are arriving and who must be welcomed at least as they welcomed us.
Here I was able to encounter a different culture, made up of values and tradition. Above all, a very important value here is hospitality. And we really experienced this value firsthand. We had lunches in the various villages. We were hosted by different families. And at the end of each lunch, it was customary for us to ask for the road. That is, permission to return home. And the owner of the house always gave us half the road because the other half was to come back. I wish and I hope I will return to this country again.
I decided to travel because last year one of my friends had done a similar trip with the Diocese of Padua. He was very happy with his experience and he gave me a lot of advice. So I decided to come on this trip and come to Côte d'Ivoire with Father Dario of the SMA. During the 2 weeks here, there were many things that struck me. The importance of tradition and the culture. But above all, what struck me most was the joy of the people and the wonderful welcome that they gave us. Also, what struck me by being in these places is the possibility to be able to truly live my faith and to think about what it means and what it is and what it means to be a Christian every day in my life. So in short, the positive and profound experience I have had since coming here has allowed me to answer the questions and doubts I had about the value of making this trip.
Hello, my name is Benedetta, and I had this opportunity to come to Côte d'Ivoire. And let's say that since my departure, I had no expectations. I wanted to be amazed by the experience I would have here, and that's exactly what happened to me. The joy of the people, the welcome, the meeting with people, how they made me feel every day. Whether in the street with a simple smile, a simple greeting, or for example, during dinners and lunches. And when they met you, they would tell you their story as if they had known you their whole life. They made you feel important and treated you like family. And that's the thing that struck me the most, because I didn't often find that kind of welcome. I was struck by the various encounters we had with people along the way. In particular, the meeting with the former fetish or juju priest who converted to Catholicism. His testimony, his determination to want to get out of his forced situation, transmitted to us precisely a sense of deep faith. This trip made us understand that Africa is not only poverty, sadness and war, but also a lot of beauty and wealth, and gave us the opportunity to discover once again the beauty of this diversity which enriches the encounter. The reality of the mission of the Ivorian Church allowed us to know the life of Ivorian Christians in many forms, and allowed us to leave aside prejudices and judgments.
The newly named MIM, Maison Internationale Missionnaire, the SMA house at Saint-Séquant, Cour-Gambetta, reopened its doors on September 9. A new beginning, marking a significant stage in the missionary role that this house wants to play. Father Dominic Wabire, SMA, has more on this story.
The drums sounded and the visitors responded to the invitation. Thus unfolded the long-awaited reopening of the International Missionary House on September 9th. With this celebration, the International Missionary House embarks on a new chapter filled with promises and future challenges.
Merci pour cette rencontre fraternelle.
We thank you for this fraternal gathering. Welcome to you, Archbishop Olivier de Germain of Lyon. It's the second time that you visited us this year, and we are deeply honored by your presence. Thank you for agreeing to preside over this blessing. For us, it's a great day, the fruit of 8 years of reflection and hard work. I sincerely hope that this will foster the growth of this evangelical presence in your diocese. Welcome and thank you for the Attorney Superior General of the Society of African Missions. You represent the international SMA, which desired this house to become a hub for exchange of ideas between people and churches. Our diverse faces already underline this internationality, and we are aware of the challenges ahead of us. Most Reverend Olivier de Germain emphasized that the International Missionary House MIM embodies the family aspect of the house as a place for meetings and exchanging of ideas. It is also a space dedicated to experiencing universal fraternity and diversity.
On se sent un peu en famille.
We feel a bit like family here because there are priests, but there are also nuns and laity. We sense a spirit of family which for me is significant today. By definition, there are people who come from afar, mainly from Africa. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's a bit of a crossroad, a meeting place, a place for sharing. I believe that we are living in an era where we really need such places of fraternity within diversity. Today, we have a somewhat fragmented society, as we say, with isolated groups of people living in different universes, and there are watertight boundaries. So, this is one of the things I strongly feel here, a sign of universal fraternity.
Ce signe qui est donné d'une fraternité, on peut dire universelle.
Acknowledging that the SMA's purpose is not simply to address the decline in priestly vocations, the Archbishop expressed gratitude for the dynamic service provided by the SMA fathers in his diocese. He encouraged them to remain faithful to their primary vocation and charism.
Alors, je crois que
I believe that the vocation of this place is not merely to provide priests for the diocese. This place has its own vocation, as mentioned earlier, to develop the mission from Africa, for Africa, and with Africa. We must respect that vocation.
Mes impressions.
My impressions of joy. I greatly appreciated the fact that people who have been committed to the house for years were still present and engaged. For me, international and missionary are synonymous, and it's also synonymous with home. A home can be closed. It's full of windows, doors, hidden entrances, or large doors. People come and go, live and ventilate the house. Internationality has shown its international face. with a lot of joy, songs, and this sense of hospitality, which for me is profoundly biblical. When we look closely at God's coming into our world, a world He created and loved, it's really to gather the whole world in His own house. Any house made in the name of the Lord, like ours, should reflect His image, which means an image of welcome and hospitality where people feel good and live in a sense of generosity, like the generosity of the Father who gives us His best, His own Son.
Ce qu'il a de mieux, son propre fils.
The Lay Missionary Fraternity, FLM, has already planned an event in the renovated house. They intend to remain key players in the SMA's mission. Father Augustine, SMA from the Benin-Niger province and the first director of the house, expressed his immense satisfaction with the celebrations.
This feast day of St. Peter Clever, one of the patron saints of our society, is a memorable day that will be recorded in the annals of this new house. I am very pleased to see that this event had a truly international character. The presence of the Superior General from Rome showed that this is not just a celebration among ourselves. The active participation of almost all the confreres here in the surrounding areas who came to witness shows that this is a major event for us to start with a new vision that the Superior General mentioned earlier during the Mass. So I'm very happy to participate in this celebration.
Each year, for over 50 years, great numbers of young people attend the SMA summer camp at Dromantine in Northern Ireland. During July and August, over 500 participants took part in many adventures, both outdoors and indoors. And even the poor weather did not hold back the fun.
I feel wonderfully blessed to be here, really, to be in the midst of so many young people in this day and age when young people are going away from the church. But here we have a great programme. We wake up around 8:30, 9 o'clock. We have morning prayer just before we go in for breakfast. Then after breakfast they go off, half the teams go off to play games.
Apart from games, it is also a spiritual experience. During each week, the young people attend Mass and in the evenings gather for prayer. They are also told about the current work of the Society of African Missions that is taking place in many African countries.
Then on Wednesdays we have, instead of Mass, we have a Tese day. So at 12 o'clock all the players come into the big hall. They sit and they lie on the ground really and meditate for a while, and then they come up and light. Each team comes up in turn and lights a candle around the cross, where they can pray for their families or whatever intention they wish, or their school friends or whoever. Every Sunday evening when the young people are coming in, they come with their parents. And many of those that came in the 90s to the camp when I was here in the 90s are now coming back with their children. So I've asked parents at those meetings, when I chat to them in the coffee dock or on a Sunday, or when I meet them after Mass on a Friday, why camp? Why should SMA continue this camp? And they said, Father, we made lasting friends at this camp when we were here ourselves. We knew people when we went to university then. It was so much easier, and we made friends for life. The two things that they say, the values they pick up here at camp are Christian values that they don't get anywhere else except in their home. And so that we are promoting those values, and that is a big boost for families and parents. So there's a great faith, according to the parents. They are very strong in supporting this camp because of the faith element that comes into it and the values that we promote here.
I would not be the person that I am today without camp, and I think that all the students that are here this week or that have been here over the past 4 weeks would completely agree. Camp has completely changed my life.
I have been coming to camp for about 15 years. So I first was here in 2008, and most of my best friends I've met here at camp. I would hope that that's what the girls would be getting out of this, and the boys that are coming to camp as players. as well as the whole friendship thing. Obviously, it's a faith-based camp as well, so I think that's very important.
Well, I had a great time again at Camp Drummondine 2023, and we tried to give the participants little bits of information about Africa, where our missionaries work. It's easily done because we have the teams. There are 8 teams. The whole group are divided into 8 groups, which is named after a country in Africa or Asia where we work. And this year we had Kenya and Tanzania, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Zambia, India and Philippines. Now, these teams are the same for their sporting activities as they are for their talent and their quiz and for liturgy. When they come to prepare Mass, they come as a team. And some of their managers and leaders have already been to Africa with the SMA and Friends of Africa. So they too are aware of the work that we're doing in Africa and aware of those countries, especially in Tanzania and South Africa. And then with the help of short videos and documentaries produced by the SMA media team, we showed them examples of life in Africa during our evening prayer.
It strengthens your faith being here, definitely. I know myself, I would be a completely different person. I wouldn't have the friends that I do today. And I just think it's so important that the camp does continue. It's been going for maybe 54, 55 years now. So I would love for it to be going for at least another 55 years to come.
The SMA General Council and the conference at the service of the Generalate, also known as SMA Curia, gather at the Centro Argentes at Nemi in Italy from September 10 to 13, 2023 for a time of evaluation and planning for the next pastoral year. At the end of this meeting, the theme, Missionaries United in Prayer and at the Service of SMA, was chosen to help the members of the Curia during this pastoral year. The SMA Irish Province held their Sponsors Day celebration mass in St. Joseph's Church, Woolton, Côte. The Family Vocations community has supported the education of priests for over 50 years and now contributes to the SMA formation houses in Africa. The FVC meet each year for mass and a social gathering where sponsors get to meet SMAs who have benefited from their support over many years. And so that brings us to the end of our SMA International News for the month of October. We hope that you will join us next month for news stories and information about SMA mission.